that forces players to reveal their true forms. He tells Jin this stake is connected to his angel's ring in ways even Mitsugai doesn't understand. Then he stabs it into Jin's chest. The pain is beyond anything Jin has ever experienced. His body seizes violently as the stake is absorbed into his flesh. Lightning explodes around him as a white orb forms at the center of his chest, and then Jin erupts. A pillar of red light shoots into the sky, visible from across the entire city. The shockwave destroys the building around him because the energy release is overwhelming. When the light fades, Jin has finally achieved his complete form. His body is red instead of white. His horns are longer and sharper. His aura is overwhelming because he looks like a demon king. Haitani watches with satisfaction because the charisma has finally been born. Jin's red form is beyond anything anyone expected. His speed has increased so dramatically that tracking systems can barely follow him. His strength is off the charts, and his angel's ring now has a terrifying new ability. It can force any nearby player to regress into their true form against their will. Jin tracks down the remaining bug monster and activates his ring. The monster tries to resist, but the power of the Ring of Exposure overpowers his self-control because it's too strong to fight. His human disguise shatters as his true form is revealed. The monster tries to fight back, but Jin dodges every attack like they're in slow motion. He pins the monster down with ease because the power gap is too wide. Haitani appears and tells Jin to finish him. The bug monster is furious because Haitani was the one who encouraged him to attack Jin in the first place. But Haitani admits he was just using the brothers to push Jin into his final form because he never cared about them. They were just tools. Jin ends the monster without hesitation, then destroys the clone that spawns from its body before it can escape. But something is wrong. The orb in Jin's chest suddenly cracks and his power starts fluctuating wildly. He reverts to his white form because his body can't maintain the red transformation. Meanwhile, Kuga has been fighting the other bug monster with his alpha suit. The monster can create unlimited clones, making it nearly impossible to finish permanently. Jin and Kuga work together for the first time since childhood. They coordinate their attack so they can eliminate the main monster and all its clones at the same time, because that's the only way to stop his regeneration. When the battle ends, Jin reverts to his human form. Kuga finally sees his face and realizes it's been Jin all along. He breaks down crying because Jin has been fighting monsters alone this whole time while Kuga was playing pretend hero. The guilt crushes him. Jin carries Hanako back home. She wakes up and hugs him while crying because she was so scared. Jin apologizes for leaving her behind. For the first time in years, Jin lets someone get close to him. Kuga wants answers. Mitsugai takes him and Jin to the research facility and reveals everything. The players, the arenas, Zet. The entire dark history of the Omegi Corporation. Kuga is horrified to learn what his family has done, but he's also excited. He tells Jin they should fight together like when they were kids because they could be partners in justice. Jin shuts him down because they were never a team. Kuga shows Jin a drawing of his red Zet form and suggests calling him Zetman. Jin tells him to hide the drawing and stop treating this like a game because hunting players isn't fun, it's survival. At the hospital, Konoha asks Jin and Kuga about the monsters. She remembers what the bug monster said about the Amagi family creating players, so she wants the truth. Jin lies and tells her they don't know anything either. Kuga is confused, but Jin knows that telling Konoha would only put her in more danger because some things are better left unsaid. Later, Jin takes Hanako to his home, and they spend the night together. For the first time in his life, Jin allows himself to dream about a normal future. He tells her he wants to save money, buy a house, and start a family. Hanako is touched because no one has ever talked about a future with her before. She tells Jin she wants to be his family too. They share a kiss. But at the research facility, Mitsugai has one more secret to reveal. He takes Jin to a hidden vault deep underground. Inside is a tank filled with preservation fluid. Floating in the tank is Kanzaki's head. Jin falls to his knees. Mitsugai explains that Kanzaki's body was destroyed, but his brain was salvageable. They've been keeping him alive all these years by using his mind as a databank. Kanzaki's thoughts appear on a computer screen. He asks Jin how he's doing. He asks if Jin still has the red stone from his pendant. Jin can't speak because he just stares at his grandfather's floating head with tears streaming down his face. Mitsugai tells Jin that Kanzaki is the only one who knows how to complete his transformation. But Jin doesn't care about power anymore. He walks over to the tank and looks at his grandfather one last time. Then he unplugs the cables because he wants his grandpa to finally rest in peace. Kanzaki's final message appears on the screen, asking Jin how he's doing. Jin answers through his tears, telling his grandpa that he's been eating well. The screen goes dark. Haitani makes his move. Using Jin's DNA from previous battles, he creates 2 clones and sends them to the Amagi mansion. Their mission is to steal Jin's pendant because it contains a red stone that Kanzaki mentioned in his final messages. The clones attack Konoha in her bedroom. She's terrified because they look exactly like Jin. The real Jin arrives with Kuga and Mitsugai just in time. The clones are imperfect and start melting during the fight, but one escapes with the pendant. Then the mansion explodes. Jiro planted explosives throughout the building, while everyone was distracted by the clone attack. The Amagi family home is destroyed in a massive fireball. Konoha survives, but her trust is shattered because she saw a perfect copy of Jin try to hurt her. How can she trust anyone now? Meanwhile, Hanako's headaches are getting worse because she's been fighting with her parents about her life choices. She feels like no one understands her except Jin. She goes back to him and confesses everything. She tells him she can't live without him because she wants to be his family. Jin hugs her and kisses her because he allows himself to feel happy for once. But across the city, Haitani has everything he needs. He's gathered an army of players who are tired of hiding among humans. He has the red stone from Jin's pendant, and he has a plan that will change the world forever because he's going to expose the existence of players to all of humanity. Meanwhile, the evil master contacts Jin and asks for his help stopping Haitani. Jin agrees because Haitani needs to be stopped before he destroys everything. Kuga stands at the side of the school pool. Konoha floats on her back in the water and looks up at the glass ceiling. Her eyes look calm, but her body looks tense. She suddenly rolls over and sinks for a moment. Kuga thinks she is drowning and his heart races. Konoha quickly stands up and says that she just practices. She says that she has a swim test next week and that she wants to avoid embarrassment. Kuga stays silent for a moment. He then calls her name and remembers what she once says about his justice, that he only wants praise. Kuga remembers the day when Konoha says that he enjoys justice only because people clap for him afterwards. He remembers her uncertain smile and feels how much it hurts. Kuga looks at her and says that he will become stronger. He says that he will show her what his justice really means. Konoha smiles in a friendly way, but he feels that she does not fully believe him. In his mind, he decides that things are different now. At the Alpha's base, Kuga stands in front of his team. The white suit that carries the name Alphas waits for him. The team checks the systems and the weapons. Kuga nods at them and asks them to tell his mother that she should not worry. Hayami stands near him and looks serious. He tells Kuga that the information from Jiro Nakaita might be a trap. Kuga answers that he knows, but that he cannot ignore any lead that involves Konoha. He steps into the transport vehicle and prepares to leave for the place Jiro chooses. In Undertown, Jin lies in bed with Hanako. They rest under the same blanket and their bodies are close. Hanako rests her head on his chest and smiles. Jin holds her gently and looks up at the ceiling. He says that he wants to save money. He says that he wants to buy a house one day and that he wants to live there with her as a family. Hanako blushes and feels a mix of surprise and happiness. Jin remembers the day he saves Hanako from the sand player. He remembers how he asks for money like he always does and how she never pays him. Hanako suddenly remembers this too and says that she still has not paid him for saving her life. Jin smiles and says that she does not need to pay. He says that she is his family now and that helping her does not need a reward. Hanako feels relief and joy and she presses herself closer to him. They kiss and enjoy the quiet moment together. Jin's phone starts to vibrate. He checks the screen and sees Kuga's name. Jin answers and hears Kuga speak with urgency. Kuga says that he is going out because of a message about Konoha. Jin hears the tension in Kuga's voice and realizes that something serious is happening. Hanako also hears the name Konoha, and her face changes. Jin tells Hanako that he needs to go and that he will explain everything when he returns. He leaves their small home with a heavy but determined heart. In a parking lot inside the city, Kuga waits in his casual clothes with his weapon case nearby. Jiro's car arrives and stops. Jiro tells Kuga to get in because he will show him where his sister is. Kuga climbs into the passenger seat. The Alpha's team tracks the car on their monitor and talks to Kuga through the communicator. Jiro drives casually through the streets and keeps a playful tone in his voice. He says that he wants to give Kuga another test about justice. Kuga glares at him and says that he only wants Konoha. The car stops at a red light. Jiro suddenly sprays something into Kuga's face. Kuga feels a sting in his nose and his vision becomes blurry. His body weakens in seconds and he falls unconscious on the seat. The tracking signal on the Alpha's base screen starts to flicker. The team calls out Kuga's name, but the signal turns unstable. Inside the base, Hayami sits at the main console. The team reports that they lost Kuga's signal. Hayami says that there must be interference and pretends to adjust the system. In reality, he lowers the tracking range on purpose. He leans back and tells the others that he will try to restore the signal, but his eyes show a different intention. Back in the room where Kuga lies, he slowly opens his eyes and realizes that he lies on a bed inside an unfamiliar building. His head hurts slightly. He notices that his weapons lie beside him and that someone has placed an earpiece in his ear. Jiro's voice comes through the device. Jiro says that a new test has started. He says that Kuga still has his weapons and that there is no phone signal here. He adds that Kuga has to take this test alone. Kuga stands up and checks the door. He opens it and steps into a corridor. At the end, he finds a large dining room filled with young girls. They sit at a long table and chat. Some of them notice Kuga and point at him with excitement. Kuga hides his gun behind his back and tries to act normal. Jiro tells him that these girls are his fans. He says that they are kidnapped and that Kuga has to decide if he saves them or if he goes to look for Konoha. Jiro reminds him of the previous test where 3 girls die when Kuga chooses his sister. The girls rush to him, laugh, and cling to his arms. One girl asks loudly for his autograph for her friend. Kuga feels overwhelmed and his breathing becomes heavy. He realizes that Jiro uses his popularity against him. He asks Jiro what is going on, but Jiro just repeats that this is another test of justice. Kuga forces a smile and tells the girls that he needs to go to the restroom first. He walks into the bathroom and looks at himself in the mirror. Water runs over his hands and face as he tries to clear his mind. He thinks about Konoha and about the dead girls from the previous test. He knows that Jiro is capable of killing everyone here just for his twisted idea of fun. He understands that he cannot simply leave these girls behind. When he exits the restroom, a girl waits at the door. She looks nervous and says that the place feels strange. She tells him that there is no phone reception inside and that they should escape together. She takes his arm and pulls him along the hall. They stop at a section of the wall. The girl pushes a hidden panel and a narrow passage opens. The passage leads to a cozy bedroom that looks like a normal girl's room. The other group of girls in the main hall notices the open wall from their side and starts to squeal about how cute the hidden room looks. The girl who finds the passage steps inside and waves at Kuga. She tells him that they should escape now. Kuga stands at the entrance and thinks. He wonders if she is part of Jiro's test or if she is a genuine victim who wants to flee. He remembers how Jin chose to save every single person in the burning building during the arson case. He realizes that he wants to save everyone too. He tells the girl to go ahead alone and to call the police if she manages to get out. He says that he will return to lead the others to safety. Kuga goes back to the big room. The other girls crowd around the secret bedroom. One girl jumps on the bed to test it and calls out to Kuga. At that second, a heavy cement block falls from the ceiling and crushes her. The room freezes. Blood and dust spread over the bed. The other girls scream in pure terror. They rush toward the exit. Kuga shouts and tells them to stop because the place is full of traps, but panic takes over. The girl who earlier asked for an autograph runs past him and slaps him across the face. She screams that everything is his fault and calls him a murderer. She says that he should have told them about the danger. Kuga tries to reason with her, but she does not listen. The group surges through the hallway. The door at the end opens and they see an elevator. Some rush forward. The door closes behind one girl and locks, trapping her outside. The others stay inside with the pink-haired girl, who observes everything quietly and tries to understand Kuga's behavior. Heavy metallic steps echo through the corridor. Kuga looks toward the sound and sees a giant machine man approach. The creature looks like a huge metal man with hammers for hands. Jiro's voice tells Kuga that this is the next part of the test. He says that the elevator at the end of the hall leads to his location. He then asks whether Kuga will try to reach him or stay and fight the machine to protect the girls. Kuga looks at the trembling girls behind him. His body still hurts from earlier training, but he raises his weapon. He says that he cannot leave them to die. He steps forward and charges at the machine man. The machine swings its hammer arms with crushing force. Kuga barely dodges and blocks with his sword mode. He feels each impact rattle his bones, but he refuses to move away from the girls. Jiro calls him pathetic through the earpiece and mocks his stubborn idea of justice. In another part of the city, Konoha sits at Akemi's small apartment. She holds a letter in her hands and stares at the words. Akemi prepares tea and looks at her guest. Konoha's eyes look swollen from crying and exhaustion. She came there because she cannot stay at the Amagi mansion any longer. Akemi tells Konoha that the situation at the Amagi home is dangerous now. She says that the people who work for the corporation once came to her stall. They told her that Jin went to live with his parents and offered her money to forget about him and to fix the scar on her face. She remembers how she threw the money back at them. She says that she does not trust the Amagi Corporation, but she trusts Jin. She says that Jin always tries to help people even when he looks rough. Konoha apologizes for what the Amagi Corporation did to Akemi. Akemi tells her that she does not blame her because she knows that Konoha is different from the others. Konoha looks down at the letter again and asks if Jin really goes back to his parents. She says that she never saw any parents and that the story does not feel right. She realizes that she actually knows very little about Jin and that this scares her now. Around the city, all the giant outdoor screens suddenly switch off. People in the streets look up in confusion. The screens turn back on again and show Haitani's face. He introduces himself as part of a group called Evil. He says that they are beings who humans created and then abandoned. He tells the Evil around the world to regress into their true forms. At first, the crowd thinks it is a joke. Suddenly, one man in the crowd begins to twist and change. His body stretches and his skin hardens as he regresses into a monster. He attacks nearby people and chaos breaks out. Screams fill the street. Haitani smiles on the screen as more of old join the carnage. In Akemi's apartment, Konoha sees the scene on television and feels sick. She shouts to Akemi to turn off the TV. Akemi quickly does so and holds Konoha's shoulders to calm her. Jin runs across the city rooftops. He has a phone pressed to his ear and speaks to Akemi. He asks if she sees the broadcast. Akemi says that she did but turned it off. Jin tells her that he thinks Konoha is with her and asks her to keep Konoha safe if she comes. He says that he heads toward the center of town to stop the players. He hangs up and bites down on a piece of his special activation gum. His body starts to react as his Zet factors move. Jiro watches everything through a small eye creature that sits on a wall. He sees Jin run, and he also sees Kuga still fighting the Machine Man. The machine's hammer keeps swinging, and several of the girls are already lying dead on the floor. Kuga bleeds and trembles, but still holds his ground. Jiro rubs his chin and admits that he expected Kuga to abandon the girls and chase after Konoha. Instead, Kuga stubbornly protects the people right in front of him. Jiro sneers and says into the earpiece that Kuga's justice still has a flaw. He says that something vital is still missing from Kuga's heart. Jin runs through the devastated streets while Haitani's broadcast continues on every large screen. More Evol around the city regress without restraint. Monsters block exits and surround groups of humans like prey. Jin chews his activation gum completely and feels his body change. His angel ring glows on his hand. He leaps into the middle of a panicked crowd and transforms into ZET. Jin lands among the monsters and immediately starts to attack. His black and white form moves faster than the human eye. He slices through one player, crushes another into the pavement, and kicks a third into a wall. Blood and broken bodies fall around him. Haitani notices this scene and orders the camera crews he controls to focus on Jin. Jin appears on every screen across the city as a monstrous figure saving humans. Haitani happily calls him the star of the show. Jin tells the humans near him to run while they have the chance. They look at him with fear, not understanding whether he is a savior or another monster. Haitani says through the speaker system that playtime is over. He says that the real show finally starts now that Zet appears. He calls him a creation of the Amagi Corporation and blames them for the chaos. Inside her family house, Hanako watches the broadcast on TV. She sees the image of ZET on the screen and recognizes Jin beneath the mask. Her head suddenly hurts and she groans. A dark figure stands behind her. Before she can turn around fully, the person knocks her out and carries her away. Haitani continues to talk on the screens. He tells the public that the Amagi Corporation created the players and created a Zet as well. He declares that all the deaths that happen now sit on their heads. Panic spreads further as more people hear this. Inside the Death Trap building, Kuga still fights the Machine Man. The heavy metal hammers swing with violent speed. Kuga uses his sword mode to deflect blows, then switches to his gun mode to shoot at the joints. Each impact hurts his arms and legs, but he feels something strange inside him. He feels excitement. He realizes that this is the feeling of real justice for him. A justice that fights evil face to face. Kuga finally manages to slice deep into the machine's body and exposes organic matter inside. He understands that this is not just a robot, but a player. The machine kicks him away and sends him crashing into a wall. Kuga forces himself back to his feet and charges again. He switches between sword and gun in quick succession and finally destroys the machine player. From the broken head of the machine, a tiny eye-shaped creature crawls out. It skitters along the floor and climbs onto the wall. At the same time, Ichiru feels pain in his own head. The eye creature is clearly linked to him. Jiro realizes that Kuga has defeated his test subject and feels annoyed, but he also sees a new opportunity. In the ruins of the streets, Detective Sayama and his assistant arrive at a crime scene. They see several monster corpses and a tall figure standing among them. It is Jin who has reverted to his human form. The surrounding civilians panic and shout that he is a monster. Sayama quickly steps in and declares that he is arresting Jin. He grabs Jin by the arm and pulls him away from the angry crowd. This fake arrest protects Jin from a lynching. At the same time, news reports announce that Seizu Amagi will hold a press conference. He plans to deny Haitani's claims and to protect his corporation's image. Akemi watches this on a small TV in her stall. Konoha sits near her holding a phone. Akemi speaks about how Amagi people once tried to pay her off after Jin's kidnapping. She says she threw their money away. Konoha apologizes again, but Akemi tells her that she does not blame her. Konoha borrows Akemi's phone and calls her mother. Amagi picks up and hears her daughter's voice. Konoha asks if her family is safe. Amagi worries about both of her children and tries to comfort Konoha. Back inside Jiro's secret facility, the pink-haired girl leads Kuga through a corridor. A bug clings to the back of her neck and moves slightly. It controls her actions. She brings Kuga into a room where Jiro waits with his childlike son, Ichiru. Jiro finally shows his face. His eyes are sharp and filled with hatred. Jiro tells Kuga that this is the meeting he wanted from the start. He explains that Ichiru is living proof of Seizu's cruelty. Kuga asks if they are players. Jiro answers that they are humans who use player DNA to survive. Jiro remembers the time when he works for Seizo in the underground lab that creates players. He recalls how the players revolt. Seizu decides to bury the lab, and everyone inside to erase all traces. Jiro wakes up in darkness with his son's dead body beside him. Desperate, he uses the player creation technology to implant player DNA into himself and into Ichiru. This saves their lives, but twists their bodies. Only Jiro's hatred for Seizo keeps him alive. Years later, Haitani finds the sealed lab and frees them. Jiro says that he has raised Ichiru with stories of hatred. He says that he wants revenge on Seizu and wants Kuga to become the one who kills his own father. He claims that this will be the ultimate form of justice. Hayami enters the room and stands beside Jiro. Kuga sees him and realizes that Hayami has been working with Jiro all along. The pink-haired girl suddenly points Kuga's own gun at him under Ichiru's control. A tiny bug on her neck pulses as it moves. Ichiru can kill her at any time. Hayami asks Jiro to calm down and to follow the plan. He says that Kuga must remain alive as a symbol. He reveals his own ambition. He wants control of the Amagi Corporation. He wants to use Kuga as a heroic figure while he rules from the shadows. He arranged funding for the player projects and used Keibe as his inside man. At the press conference, Seizu stands on stage. Cameras flash and reporters fill the hall. He says that Haitani's speech is a lie and that his corporation has nothing to do with players. Suddenly, Kabe steps forward. A hidden bug on his neck glows. Under Ichiru's control, Kabe declares that